And coming up next, another Fox conspiracy collapses. Why the man who's accused of being a mole is now being charged in the insurrection. Geraldo Rivera joins me right now, live.
We do know from contemporaneous videotape that a mysterious figure called Ray Epps encouraged the crowd to go into the Capitol. For some reason, Epps has never been indicted for that. He's never been charged, much less imprisoned in solitary confinement like so many others. Why is that? Well, let's just stop lying. At this point, it's pretty obvious why that is.
Ray Epps, he became the focus of right-wing conspiracies after the Capitol insurrection, with prominent figures you see there on the right pushing this idea that his presence at the Capitol that day, but lack of charges, was evidence that law enforcement had coerced Trump supporters into action. But tonight, Epps is now officially facing a misdemeanor charge of disorderly or disruptive conduct on restricted grounds. Epps is expected to plead guilty at a hearing tomorrow afternoon. And joining me now is a journalist and former Fox anchor, Geraldo Rivera. Geraldo, good to see you. So Epps was there because he was a Trump supporter. Will finally being charged now mean anything to the people who've been pushing these conspiracies?
I think that the ham-handed way the federal government has handled the Epps case will only exacerbate these conspiracy notions. Why in the world, Abby? You mentioned all the people who are in jail, serving time, hundreds of them, many charged with felonies, some getting double-digit years, and he's only charged with a misdemeanor. Why only a misdemeanor? Why now? Why 2.5 years after this incident? Why now?
It's
almost as if the Department of Justice wanted to. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I think we just have to put out there that we will find out in a hearing this week the why of it all. And Ray Epps is going to plead guilty. These other January 6th defendants who are getting pretty lofty sentences are unrepentant. So there are some differences here, don't you think?
Well, if he pleads guilty as expected to the misdemeanor tomorrow, we will not have any instrument by which we can find the truth about Ray Epps. I want to be very clear. I think that the responsibility for what happened on January 6th,
what do you mean by that?
What happened on January 6th was because of Donald Trump. If Epps pleads guilty, there's no cross-examination. There's no probing discovery to find out, what, if any, role he played other than being the schmuck that he is. Obviously, he was one of the first online to charge the Capitol cops outside the Capitol. I just think that why wasn't he arrested a long time ago? Why now, and why only after he does interviews with the New York Times? He does interviews with 60 Minutes. He's given his testimony to the Congressional January 6th hearing committee. Why only now did they get around to this guy's been in everybody knows him now. Why did they arrest him now? Only now? Why not 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago? Why not when it happened? Particularly because he was so public.
Ray Epps has sued Tucker Carlson for defamation for pushing these conspiracies. That was when Tucker was still at Fox. But he says that Carlson and others, quote, turned on one of their own. Look, you're asking all of these questions, why now, why all of this and that, but you're implying a lot of stuff here. There's no evidence of anything except that this man was accused falsely of being a federal agent, and now he's actually been charged with a crime. So what are you implying exactly?
I imply nothing other than to tell you that years ago, I was the first one to air the Zapruder film of the John F. Kennedy assassination. It was 1975. I'm the father of conspiracy television. I have not been able to shake that. This is another one of those cases where the federal government's ham-handed approach, I use that word again, two words, ham-handed approach will only fuel conspiracy notions. This is a person who should have been arrested a very long time ago. I believe that responsibility for what happened on January 6th is primarily with Donald Trump. and a lot of other people, his minions, who drank the Kool-Aid and they did something, some in character, like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. Others, who knows where they came from and why they decided to attack the United States Capitol. This handling of this case, these are questions that must be answered. Otherwise, it will haunt us the way the Kennedy assassination conspiracies have haunted us.
I have to say that you not agreeing with, or anybody not agreeing with how the federal government handled a particular case doesn't make it okay to just make things up. That's not how this works. And so I think that at the end of the day,
but
ultimately,
what
at the end of the day,
exactly are we
ultimately,
making up though?
Well, at the end of the day, he's being charged, and we'll find out what he's actually being charged and perhaps pleading guilty to. But to make up, to spin a whole yarn about how
disorderly conduct.
To spin a whole yarn about how he worked for the federal government and enticed Trump supporters to attack the Capitol as a plant there's no evidence of that. And that's, I think, at the heart of what's going on in this story. But Geraldo, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us.
Okay. I don't know how helpful I have been, but again, Trump is unfit to be president because of January 6th.
Thank you. Have a good night.